to have you here.
Happy to be here.
This is your first time here at the Tampa Bay Comic Convention.
Yes, first time, yeah.
First time to Tampa as well? How do you like the humidity?
Hot. Oh my God. I don't know how you do it. I was just saying to someone, I said, if I lived here, I don't think I would ever go outside.
So, I think people kind of get that. Well, we're excited to have you here. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. And we're thrilled. We have some people who like to ask you some questions. If we can get questions, so let's do this. All right.
Hi, you look great.
So, longtime fan of Once Upon a Time. What was it like playing the Wicked Witch, Selena, and how did you get into character for each episode?
It was definitely the most fun I've ever had at work. I mean, it was the most fun role. I loved the writing on the show, and just the character herself was absolutely nuts, and she was completely insane, which is so much fun to play. Because I'm just normal, well, I'm not normal, let's be real, but like I got to add, you know, my personality to it, and I really, really had an amazing time. And I didn't really have like a massive process in terms of like getting into character, but when on the days when I got to be green, sort of the process of becoming green, it took sort of 3 hours from beginning to me drinking my coffee to then getting onto set was probably about 3 hours. So all of that kind of getting ready sort of helped me sort of become her, you know, and then on the white days, you know, it was easier. But the white days were boring. I get to be white every day, like, so, and I read this, you know, the hair and makeup department and all the other members of the crew get the scripts before the actors, because they have to start prepping for the next episode. So actors typically get the scripts last. So whenever I was going to be green in an episode, it was always my makeup artist telling me first, like, we get to be green in the next episode. I'm like, yes! It was never enough. I always wanted more, because when I had to be green, she and I had to do it in a separate trailer so that we didn't like fume out the rest of the cast. And I'm like, wait, but what's happening to my lungs? And am I going to die? But whatever. But it was fun for me and the makeup artist, because then we would have like our own room while we did that makeup and drink coffee and chat, listen to music. So those were kind of special times on the show for me. Thank you.
And it was interesting for you because you came in, the show was already established. And I heard that you were actually a fan of the show before you were cast. Is that true? You're familiar with the show before you got cast?
No, absolutely not. I'd never seen it. I had never seen it when I got offered the part, and I was like, oh my God, I really need to watch Once Upon a Time. And it was on my list. I've always got a list of shows. I watch a lot of television. I was like, I must get around to that, I must get around to that, and then didn't. And then when they called me to say, hey, do you want to be on the show? And I'm like, absolutely. And I found out that I had about 3 weeks before I started. So I watched 2.5 seasons in 3 weeks. It was amazing. I'm like, this is really good. I got like my curtains drawn, and I was watching like 10 episodes a day, and I just fell into it and like did a massive binge watch.
Oh, wonderful. It's awesome. That's how I think we all want to watch it, right? Just want to binge it and just enjoy every moment.
Nothing like, I'm currently doing it with Stranger Things, and I'm in heaven. Oh, the show is so good. I was watching it till like 2 o'clock this morning. I'm like, go to bed, Rebecca, but I couldn't. I love TV.
We all do. Go ahead.
Hi there.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming. I just wanted to ask.
What's your name first?
I'm Dawn.
Nice to meet you, Dawn.
Nice to meet you. And I've been a long-time fan. And just anything you're in, you're just wonderful.
Thank you.
I just wondered what your favorite project you've ever worked on was, and who your favorite person you've ever worked with is. That's hard.
I would definitely say Once Upon a Time is the most fun I've ever had at the office. And I think it's because I've just got so many friends on that show, and everybody made me feel so welcome from the beginning. And normally when you do a TV show, like you walk away and you've got like one really good mate, whether it's crew or cast or whatever. I tend to sort of get one person from each job that stays in my life forever. And I mean, I've got like 15 friends or more from Once Upon a Time. So a lot of the time when I was at work, I didn't feel like I was at work. It was sort of like being at college, because there was just a lot of silliness, you know, and messing about, and poor new guest directors going, shut up! We're like, sorry. I mean, we were like children. We were so obnoxious. But it was just a good time. You know, when the cameras weren't rolling, I always used to say to Lana, I'm like, I wish they had had another camera crew filming us making the show, because that was more interesting. Because the writing was great on the show, but our relationships and all the silliness that was going on would have been a really great reality show on like Bravo or something.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so hi, I'm Kayla.
Hi, Kayla.
So my question is, if you could have been any other character on the show, who would you have been?
Nobody.
Really?
Yeah, I've been asked that question a lot, and I used to lie. And like, you know, you lie and say you've got hobbies. I've got hobbies, I watch telly. And I used to lie and say, oh my god, I'd be Rumble. Blah, blah. I'm like, no, I wouldn't. Like, if I would never want to be anybody else other than Zelina, because she's such a big part of me. And also, everybody else on the show was so good at being that character, I wouldn't even want to touch it and mess with what they had done, because they were so good. So I don't think there's another role that I would want to play. I mean, I definitely wouldn't want to be good. Boring. You know? So I'm just so... I mean, I knew they were going to make me a villain before they... I said yes to being on the show before I even knew what the character was, and my agent was like, we should probably wait and see what the character is. I'm like, I would love to be on a pre-existing hit TV show. Thank you. So I didn't even know what I was going to be, but I knew. And me and my husband went out for a curry the night before I was going to talk to Adam and Eddie, and we're Googling, like, Disney villains, bitchy Disney people. Like, we're trying to, like, think about who it could be. Of course, the Wicked Witch of the West never came up in my Google search, because she's not a Disney character. So they wanted to add the Wicked Witch of the West to Once Upon a Time earlier, but they couldn't get them. They had to license the character and pay for the rights to have the character, because she's not owned by Disney. So they had to like do it through the publisher of the books, of the Wizard of Oz books.
Yeah. So that was a complete surprise, because I mean that was
Yeah.
out of left field, right?
I knew I was going to be a bitch, but I thought it was going to be a Disney bitch. I wasn't. So if there was some sort of, I was like, I knew I was going to be horrible. I knew it. And they're like, you were the first person we thought of. I'm like, thank you. Also, she's very ugly in the film, so also double thank you, you know? Thanks, guys.
Is it kind of more freeing to play a bad guy, or versus like playing like a princess? Do you feel like you have a little more range of motion being a bad guy or villain?
I wouldn't know if it's more freeing, but it's more complex, which is more challenging and more fun. And also, it's challenging because you don't just want to like play mean, because that's too on the nose and that's boring. So it's like, how do I make someone that's technically a villain have some layers and some vulnerabilities so that they're relatable, as opposed to just being one-note nasty? That's not interesting to watch. So it's more challenging in a way to make it interesting, which I enjoyed.
I love that, because I think the most effective villains are the ones that think they're not a villain. They're going through and they're realizing that, and I think that was portrayed very well. Thank you for your question.
That's a really good point, though, because...
Thank you so much for being here and spending your time with us.
Oh, bless you. I'm having a good time. No, I think, as you say, like, the best thing about villains, or the most interesting villains, are villains that don't... Villains don't think they're villains. They don't walk around and say, I'm a villain. They're just like, I'm amazing, I'm me, why is everybody pissed off? Because I'm amazing. Also, I've been through some stuff, so calm down. You know? They don't think they're evil.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hiya.
How was filming the musical episode?
Oh.
Okay, what's your name?
Joey.
Joey?
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. We had so much fun. It was like, preparing for a week of Broadway, you know? And we all got to work with a private vocal coach who was in LA, and we would like FaceTime him and practice our singing, and we got to go into a recording studio, and then when we filmed it, they would play our song really loudly so that we were like singing along to our own songs. So it kind of felt like shooting a music video. And each song took a day, so I got to do my song for a whole day at work. And I never got sick of the song. I was like, this is amazing! It was like a dream come true. Like, I love singing. So it was like my first time actually singing professionally. So just ticked that off my bucket list. It was really fun.
Your song was the best on that episode.
Oh my God, I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, darling.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I'm from Brazil. And I would like to know, how do you balance your career and be a mom at the same time? And if you have any project for the future?
Great question. I've never, ever I have never worked so hard in my life. This weekend is a holiday for me because being a mum is exhausting, and I laugh when I think about being on set, you know, thinking I was at work. No, I wasn't. I wasn't at work. I was sitting in a chair, and people came to me and said, "Oh my God, like, how are you? Do you need a blanket for your knees?" I'm like, "I do." "Do you want a cup of tea?" I'm like, "Thirsty." Nobody's bringing me shit anymore, okay? Nobody's bringing me anything except their dirty bottoms. Like, "Mummy, I done a poo." So it's humbling. And I'm not juggling work and parenting because Milo was 4 months old when COVID hit and the world closed, right? He was 4 months old. And then the industry a few months later sort of figured out how to reopen and how to film things with COVID protocols and all that shit. And then I was like, oh, okay, and I started to go on auditions again, and then I got pregnant again, and I'm like, well, nobody's going to hire a fat pregnant lady. So then like another year went by, so it's been like a chunk of time of like 2 kids, 1 pandemic, and I don't feel quite ready just yet to go back to work, just because when I'm working, I might be working 12, 17 hours a day, and my baby's only 10 months old, you know? So I'm like, no. Just to miss it all, because the beginning they change so quickly, and I don't want to get like a text from a nanny going, "First steps," like, oh, I don't want to miss it. So in a little bit, I think I'll be ready to kind of figure out how I can have a work-life balance where I can do a really cool, like, get a great part in a great show, but still be able to be very present in my children's lives, because what's the point of having kids if you're not... I mean, I know obviously some people don't have a choice, but I feel very lucky that I am able to spend, like I saved some of my money, that I am able to spend so much time with them, you know? Because all of a sudden they're going to be on their iPhones going, bye, and they're not going to want to hang out with me anymore. So the beginning is the bit where they're like, "Mummy," and you're like, "Shut up." So, you know, now they're really into me, so I want to be around for that bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigada.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Allison.
Hello.
You were amazing on Once Upon a Time.
Thank you.
What's your favorite memory of filming Once Upon a Time?
Oh God, how long is this panel? 2 hours?
Yeah, we got
3? So many memories. Honestly, because I didn't go to college, right? I didn't go to university. So for me, being on Once Upon a Time was like going to college. And I always thought like our trailers were like our dorm rooms, you know? So there's a lot of sitting and waiting on a show, because you're waiting for it to be your turn, or you're waiting for the lighting crew to turn the lights around, so there's a lot of sitting. So those times for me were my favourite, because I'm like, ooh, whose door am I going to go and knock on? Like, do you want to hang out? Do you want a cup of tea? So my favourite memories were really like when Colin was playing the guitar and we're all singing and drinking whiskey, and I'm stealing Lana's chocolates and playing with our dogs and just hanging out. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning and we're delirious, or hanging out in Granny's diner and tripping over Belle because she's asleep on the floor. And there's just like all of us just like piles of bodies and just talking nonsense and just laughing. That really are my most favourite memories, are just laughing and laughing with the other cast. And then like, we're ready for you on set, and we're like, but we're having a really great time. So it was almost like, no, we're hanging out, leave us alone.
Amazing.
Just the hanging out really with my friends, I would say I miss the most.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Rebecca. My name's Jerry.
Hello.
So, for my question, I'm wondering, I gotta know, which season is your favorite?
All right, I have 2. Season 1, which is weird because I'm not in it, you would think I wouldn't be interested. But I love season 1 because it was so new, and you're like, oh my God, where are these people? And it was, season 1 for me was the most magical season. And then my second favourite season is season 3, where I come along. You're welcome. Thank you. And that whole arc of Wicked always wins. Because they started calling the seasons like 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, because they would have sort of like different story arcs, you know, to break up the seasons. So I would say season 1 and 3B are my definite favourites.
The last 2 seasons are my favorite also. You play amazing in character.
Thank you, that's really kind. Thank you, darling.
Thank you.
Bye.
So you knew it was magical then when you were binging it. The first season, you're like, this is.
I was happy to get a job because I didn't have much money at the time, and then I started watching. I'm like, oh my god, oh wow, okay. I was already excited, and then I was like, oh my god, especially because I'd been on Lost, right? And I came into Lost in season 4, and like what a blessing to be injected into a pre-existing hit. It's very different as an actor than like shooting the pilot and waiting to see if you're going to get picked up, and then are you even going to get cancelled? Are you going to get a season 2? That's really stressful. So to sort of get injected, you know, into something that's already established, it's like, oh thank God, the hard work's already been done. I just get to enjoy the magic carpet ride.
Excellent.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Lucy. I was just wondering, what is like your favorite like ecosystem, like out of like ocean, desert, like rainforest, that kind of thing?
I am most comfortable, because look at me. My dermatologist always says, sweetie, you don't belong here. Like, I know, I don't belong in sun. I mean, I glow in the dark. So I would say Vancouver was definitely my jam when it came to ecosystems. And I didn't realize this when I first moved there, but Vancouver is on the same latitude as where I was born. It's like 2 degrees off on the planet, up there, up the north. So when I'm in sort of moist, damp, cool air, where maybe it rained a bit ago, and there's like a river flowing, and everything's really green, and there's lots of trees, and the smell of that, and I'm not getting burnt, and I don't need sunscreen, I've got a cup of tea, I'm like, ooh, and a blanket on my knees that people used to bring me. That, to me, is my hashtag happy place ecosystem.
I agree. Thank you.
I think you've been moderated, I think, 30 different comic conventions. I don't think anybody's ever asked.
Yeah, no, that is the first time.
First time I ever heard that question. Amazing.
In my entire career, I've been asked that question. So do I. Wicked. Hi. Again.
Anna.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask about the process of like reading the scripts and just like seeing your character just get progressively more crazy. Like, how was that like reading the scripts for the first time and just being like, oh, it's getting worse?
It's funny because you do get them so sort of last minute. Sometimes you get them and you've got to start shooting them like in 2 days, and you're sort of frantically going through all the storylines, trying to get to your bit where your character pops up. And there would be sometimes I would read the scripts and read something awful, you know, that I had to say that's just so bad, you know, so mean and so messed up, and I'd look at it like, ooh, oh dear, oh no, I'm going to get a lot of hate tweets for this one, you know, like strangling Henry and stealing the Charming's baby and killing Bay and oops and all that crap. Oh, you think, oh no, they're all going to hate me. So it's like, oh no, but yay. So it's like a double-edged sword. But yeah, like reading it really quick and finding out how hated I was going to be was actually kind of fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In the creative process, how much input were you allowed to help craft your character, or was that, or did they have a vision of that when you got cast, and the director's like, we want it like this, or did they kind of give you a little bit of free rein at the beginning to find yourself in the character?
It wasn't really the directors on the show that said this is what we're thinking, because also with network TV and most other TV, each episode has a different director. You know, they're sort of guesting, so it's really like the executive producers that have a say on how the character's going to be. But what I love about Adam and Eddie is they literally just wrote what they wrote and let me do what I did. And that doesn't happen very often. Sometimes you can be really micromanaged, which for me takes the fun out of it and the freedom out of it, and might kind of quash an energy that I was going to bring, because I feel like I've been over-directed. And they really, really let all of us kind of do our thing, and I think that's why the show was the way that it was, is that they cast the right people for those roles, that we were given a lot of creative freedom which doesn't happen very often, and I'm really grateful to them for that, because I got to kind of do my thing, and they never were like, oh, Rebecca, terrible choice. They just were like, do you, boo? It was great.
Well, that kind of goes to speaking. They trusted you. They trusted your skill set, that's going to be really good to know that they just like, hey, we know that you can do this character right, so that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yeah, lucky. Hi, that's a very wide stance.
It's like, do you want to raise it higher?
I just felt like it was a choice, but yeah.
Maybe not the best choice. So if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self and give her one piece of advice, what would it be? And like, can you just deliver it in the Valley Girl voice too? Just saying.
You should like totally be who you really are and not like give a shit about like what anyone thinks about you, because ew to everyone else, ew. Like, do you. Fuck it. Life is too short.
That's amazing.
Hello.
Hello. My question is going to be, like, what was the either moment or project that you worked on that you felt like kickstarted your career and you're like, I'm going to do this full time and this is what I'm going to be?
The first job that I got was like, oh my god, now I'm an actual real life actress as opposed to I'm a hustler, baby, give it to me. Was in 2006, and I got this part on a show that was on Fox called Justice, and it was a show about defense attorneys, American defense attorneys. It was really intense. And everybody spoke really fast. Half the time I didn't know what the bloody hell I was talking about. And I look at my lines going, what? American legal jargon? I didn't know what any of it meant. I'm like, how on earth am I going to make this believable? And I'll never forget, I went to the script supervisor. I'm like, oh, there's a typo in the script, there's a mistake. And she's like, what do you mean there's a mistake? I'm like, here it says blah, 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 my client pleads the fifth. And she went, uh-huh. And I went, well, the sentence doesn't finish, like, the fifth what? And she's like, amendment? And I'm like, what's an amendment? And she's like, oh. Like, why does this person have this job? I'm like, I don't know how I got this part. I really don't understand why I got this job. It was, I think my mum and dad bought me like a law dictionary. I didn't know what I was saying. It was so hard. But I was the female lead on the show, I shouldn't have been. But it enabled me to move to LA. I was living in New York at the time when I booked it. And then, yeah, it brought me to LA and it enabled me to quit modeling, which I hated it. So then I got to stop doing that, because I was a model and an actress for 6 years in New York, so like trying to make it as an actor. So I'd be like, one day I'd be on set with Meryl Streep, and then the next day, you know, I'm like modeling khakis from Target. And, you know, someone would say to the photographer, did you know that Rebecca's doing a movie with Meryl Streep? And they're like, oh, that's so cute. Like, to believe it, you know? And I'm like, no, I swear to God, I'm shooting a movie called The Dead West Prada. And they're like, oh, bless her heart. You know? So that was kind of the moment where I'm like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I hated modeling. So basically, I've been like a full-time actress since 2006, and now I'm a full-time diaper changer. Thank you.
I can just see you going to the scriptwriter, like, I think it meant to say drink a fifth, and like, complete a fifth.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Thank you so much for portraying a powerful woman villain, but also with a kind heart in the end kind of thing. Yeah. It's nice to have a powerful woman out there.
Yeah.
As a mom, looking back, I'm her mom. She loves theater. What advice could you give to someone as working for Disney as you did? Somebody that wants to get into the business, what career advice would you give as a mom?
Well, obviously be careful of looking out for people that you think might be taking advantage, because there's a lot of scam artists out there, or people like, oh, we're an agency, and they're not really, or, oh, give us $1,000 and we'll do some headshots. Like, that kind of stuff that you see online is all rubbish, because a real agency doesn't charge you for anything. They work for you and they take 10% commission, so there is no sort of charging. That stuff always scares me, you know? So I would like, I often have people reach out to me like, hey, my son wants to get into acting. Is this a legitimate agency? And it's in a state that I've never been to. So then I'll screen grab that and I send it to my agent. It might even be someone like DMing me on Twitter, and I'll verify and come back and go, absolutely not. That is not a real agency. Take your daughter and run, run, run! You know? So legitimacy is key, and getting in a class is really important. Just honing your craft, and it shows that you're serious. If you can afford it, I could really, because acting classes are very expensive. And then, you know, trying to get representation. That's really the biggest and most important thing, is finding a manager or an agent that is going to submit you for roles. If anything, you know, wherever you're living, that maybe you're shooting locally, and start trying to build a resume, which is why I started working in New York, because I thought, you know, it's a smaller pond, I'll be a bigger fish, because LA is like, everybody's an actor in LA. Everybody you meet is an actor. So I thought starting somewhere else actually, I think, was really beneficial to me. But, you know, so I had like a few things on my resume, and my headshots already done before I then went to LA. That helps.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent advice, excellent advice. Next question.
Hi, my name is Isa. First I want to say that you were amazing in Once Upon a Time. You were my favorite villain ever. Like, you just, oh my gosh, I love you so much. But I wanted to ask, like, how was it being green in front of everyone? Just like, you were just green, the only green person there.
I was definitely an ethnic minority on the show. I mean, it's not easy being green. That was the name of one of the episodes, wasn't it? It's not easy being green. And when the show was finishing, Adam and Eddie did this amazing thing for us, and they gave all the actors a gift of what they thought was our best episode. Like their favourite episode of our character. It was really cute, and they did it. They made it in like hardback books, kind of like, you know, the proper Once Upon a Time books. So we all got one, and mine was It's Not Easy Being Green. But once my makeup was finished, I would forget that I wasn't white. And then I'd always scare the shit out of myself going to the toilet. I'm like, oh my God! It was me. Like, I was terrifying. But I felt like me, and then I'd look and I'm like, that is really scary. As I said, being green was always my favourite. You know, I was like, oh, I could be white any day. Yawn, you know?
Did it make it hard sometimes to emote and act being with all the makeup on, or was it?
Never felt it.
Never felt it?
I was never cognizant of it. Even when I had like stuck on green nails and 60,000 pins in my hair and hat pins in my hair and sopping wet dress that weighs 65 pounds. Like, you think about how uncomfortable it was. I only felt uncomfortable when the cameras weren't rolling. It was weird. So when I was sitting in my chair and I'm like, oh my God, my back and all my head hurts and this, that and the other. But the minute they said action, all of that uncomfortableness went away, and I was just in it. And then they'd like cut and I'm like, oh, where's my chair? But when I was in it, when I was Zelina, I wasn't aware of how uncomfortable I was. It was weird. Thank God. Otherwise my performance would have been moany.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and in the fall I'm going into school for acting, and I was wondering if there's anything that you wish that you'd done differently when you were going into acting, or that you know now that you wish you knew then?
I mean, it would have been nice to be able to go to school for it. I think that you're already way ahead of me. I mean, that's amazing that you were able to do that, you know, and be able to go to a good school and train and act and things like that, because I didn't get to do that. So I think that's really amazing. Like, if I could do things differently, I would love to have gone back in time and been able to do that. But also just, I think, there's so many people along the way in my 20s in the beginning that were so horrible to me and said such horrible things that I came so close to quitting so many times. Like, I even had this agent, like my first agent was so verbally abusive and so cruel. She would say horrible things to me, like, I don't know who you think you are, and I'm like, oh my God, like, do people really talk to people like this? And I almost quit, and I ended up telling on her. So I'm like, I feel like this is abuse. Is this abuse? And so I went to the owner of the agency, and I'm still with that agency today. I've been with them for 22 years. And I said, I have to tell you something. This woman is saying this kind of stuff to me. And he said, can you do me a favor? Do you mind if I get the owner of the company from LA on speakerphone? And I'm like, oh my God. But I was telling on a bully, right? So I told the owner of the company and everything she'd been saying, the way she'd been treating me, and I was the only person in her division that was actually working, by the way, which, why are you being horrible to the one that's booking? And she got fired that day. And I was really proud of myself. It was scary, but I was like, she's never going to do that to another person ever again. So just always stay true to yourself, and if things don't feel right, then they're not. Just believe in your intuition and your gut, and if it's really what you really want to do, never listen to, I call them naysayers. You know, people that like try to criticize you, or people would talk about me like, oh, you know, you're not naturally thin, or your hair's a bit weird, or people that were jealous, people from school. You know, they were really jealous and said really hurtful, horrible things, and I'm really proud of myself that I didn't let other people destroy my dream, because that was their actual intent. And I always say, like, success is the best revenge to bullies. So just, if you want to do it and you're loving it, do it, and don't ever give up.
Thank you.
Good luck. Welcome.
All right, next question.
Hello. My name's Cameron.
Hi.
I was actually having a question about, you said you watched Stranger Things. Have you seen all the seasons?
No, spoiler alert. I'm just starting season 4.
Awesome. So
I know!
it's not a spoiler question.
Okay.
I was going to do that, but since you haven't seen season 4.
Thank you.
If you had the choice, or if you had been given the option to play a character on the show, what would that character be?
I would say Winona Ryder's character, Will's mum. But if it was like a day at the office, then I would be Billy's mum on the beach. Just a little pop-in, little cameo. That would have been cool. I love that show. It's so good. Oh my God. You know what I'm doing tonight?
Hi.
Hello.
This is probably like the stupidest question, but for acting you have to learn different accents. Which one was the hardest one to learn?
I had to learn how to do a Boston accent once. Actually, you know what? I thought it was going to be really hard, and it ended up not being as hard as I thought, because they do the same thing in England that we do, where we don't say our R's. So Americans say car, bar, and in England we say car, bar, and that's what Bostonians do. They say, I went to the bar, I drove my car. It's actually very similar. I can do a lot of acting. I don't have many talents. I've got like 3. Good cup of tea, good listener, which is rare for an actor, and harsh but fair. And I'm pretty good at accents, so even if I can't do one, I'm able to learn it quite quickly. Yeah, I love doing accents. It's fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Noah.
Hi.
I had a 2-part question. If you were to have a movie directed about your life, who would you cast as yourself, and who would you have directed?
I've always wanted to work with Jon Favreau as a director, because Swingers is one of my favorite films. And to play me, I would probably hire Jessica Chastain. Or Bryce Dallas Howard. And then if Jon Favreau is not available, her dad can direct it.
All great choices.
Thank you.
Was it when you got cast on Once, you started working on Once, was there any particular moment that you had when you did it that you knew that this is going to, because it was such a fantastic show, it's just a wonderful show. Was there any scenes that you got to do that you knew, like, this is going to be such an iconic moment, or did it just feel like that for everything for you?
Iconic moments for me, I felt the most when I was riding my broomstick. I mean, it was iconic. Yeah. The Wizard of Oz is also such an iconic film. So to actually, and I really did fly a broomstick through the air from a ceiling 3 times as high as that. So I just thought, I can't wait for the background to all be filled in, and then I get to see what this really looks like. Especially in like the musical episode with my song, and like flying through the air and hitting munchkins in the head with a broomstick. Does it get better than that? No. That was my job. That's not normal.
Yeah. When you were like, so let's go back to when you knew you were going to be a bad guy. but you didn't know your character yet. And you said you and your husband were looking up all the Disney villains.
Yeah.
Did you have any that you thought that it might be, were you leaning towards any, or, oh, it could be this one, or was it?
I can't remember what they were, but my husband picked a couple of good ones that weren't already on the show. I was like, oh, maybe that. We might have even thought of Cruella, actually. I don't think she had been introduced yet, or Maleficent, or whatever. But yeah, we were way off.
Yeah. So, excellent. Well, you guys, this is how it works. She's going to be in her booth. You can go there and talk to her booth, and you guys can get an autograph. Can you guys give Rebecca a huge round of applause?
Thank you, everybody.
So much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys. One more time, guys. Another huge round of applause.
Bye. Have a nice weekend.
Awesome. All right, well, without further ado, he's just going to walk up here anyway. Zach Roerig. Let me introduce you.
Sorry, I was trying to take my cue from the video. I couldn't see the screen. I'm not sure what it was, but I hope it was cool.
It sounded cool. I couldn't see it either, but was it cool? Did it look cool? All right. So, is this your first time in Tampa? Have you ever been to Tampa before?
It's actually my first time in Tampa, and I asked a really silly question to the driver earlier. Like, so, where's like the, like Tampa Bay? And he's like, right there. that bay, right. I am in Tampa. That makes sense. Bay, okay.
It's okay. I asked the guy where the Riverwalk was last night, and it was like...
On the other side of the hotel.
Yeah, but I was just like, where's the Riverwalk? And he actually pointed me in the other direction, so I'm not really sure what that was about.
Yeah, I don't know. It's my first time in Tampa. I'm fairly familiar with Florida, but I knew I was coming to Florida for a job, and I didn't really do a good geographical update. So, like, I did talk to friends that live in Florida or family or whatever, and I was just, like, assuming that it was a hop, skip, and a jump. Like, yeah, well, like 3.5 hours from me, Zach. Yeah, maybe we can drive down. But, I don't know, I'm excited to be here. My hotel's, like, facing the bay. So I walked along the water this morning, and, like, you can rent boats.
Oh, yeah.
So look for me on the evening news.
Brownie?
So I know people want to ask questions about this show that you've done that has some vampires in it and some diaries, but I figured before we got to that, I know, because I actually am in it too, but you are filming a movie this year, and I thought you might want to talk a little bit about that first, and then... We can light it on fire.
I can do that. I didn't prepare for a risky business role.
Has anyone got a light on?
Yeah, so started a Western. I kept thinking it was last December, but it was in January actually. And snow was cold as crap because I was in Ohio, where I'm from, and I've been working like crazy in this farmhouse that I've had for a long time, but finally got it like renovated. It was just like cold, really, really cold. And I flew to Texas, Dallas, to meet Lanny to do a Western film. And we drove down to this cool little city, town, I guess, area called Nacogdoches. How cool is that name? We're down in Nacogdoches. You know, it just like has such a cool ring to it. But anyway, it's a Western film. I've always wanted to do a Western. I've been pretty vocal about that. So I knew it was a Western. I knew that Bruce Dern was going to be in it. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. I'll do it. My agent said, do you want to read the script? And no, that's enough for me. And it's turned out to be a really bad experience. Got to meet a lot of new people. Lanny, actually, we've been friends for a long time. And it's just like a kind of a 6 degrees of separation where the whole thing happened. We're about to finish it anyway. I can be long-winded, I'm sorry. So we're finishing in September, I think is the word. And so I guess look for that film, because it'll definitely be seen. The stuff we shot so far, it looks really good, and the stuff they've edited together looks really good, so I don't know, I'm pretty excited about it. Those art house films a lot of times carry a lot of heart and soul in the industry, especially when everything's kind of dominated by like package deals and franchise this and franchise that, so Anywho.
So,
and the title of this film, unless it's changed, is Bad Men Must Bleed. Bad Men Must Bleed. Anyway.
so watch for that one. So I know we all want to ask questions about this show with vampires and diaries, and we have a question right here. So when we'll go to you, and then I've got some questions too. But what's your name?
Hi, my name is Megan, and my question was, obviously, like, in the Vampire Diaries, your character was very, like, hot and cold with his friends. So I guess my question was, like, if you're watching, like, from a fan's point of view, like, how would you have felt about your character? Would you have liked your character, like, as a character?
Is Zach Roerig like Matt Donovan?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been watching it, period, just because I'm kind of lame. Maybe now I would have, but I wouldn't have been cool enough to know about it when it started. I would be someone catching up to it now, 20 years later, 15 years later, whatever. I feel old. But I think I would probably have been pro-vampire, because I really liked Interview with the Vampire and all those vampire movies. And probably would have been like, God, dude, stop being so freaking lame. Like, we gave you a chance. So I probably wouldn't have liked Matt. I would have probably thought he was annoying. I'm usually all or nothing.
So Zach would not have been friends with Matt.
I don't know. Well, I would have been friends with Matt. Here's the thing. It would have, well, it just depends. I get me down a rabbit hole. I also have never been a big fan of the person that's favored in the match. I've always been a fan of the underdog, the guy that's getting beat up a little bit. So I probably would have liked Matt, because he's kind of like a Rocky Balboa. So there's that too. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love your costume.
Thank you.
So, what do you think would have been an interesting way? Oh, we have another question in a second. What do you think would have been an interesting thing to do with Matt as far as, making him a little bit more interested in vampires? Would you, if you could have done something different with Matt?
It's been a while since I thought about it. I remember one time, I can't remember how the show ended, honestly. I can't remember if Elena was still a vampire or a human. She was a human, right? That's why I thought that she and Matt should have ran off into the sunset. So what I thought would be interesting is that they run off into the sunset. She's a human. She can fulfill her life. She can be a parent. They can, don't do all that. But then their first child that they conceived, about the time of their 13th birthday starts to act a little funny, a little whatever. And in fact, the vampire gene was still running through Elena all along. So now but it's like a different type of hybrid now. It's a vampire-human hybrid. However that would work.
Interesting. I like that idea.
Anyway, sorry, Elena. Get off these questions.
We have another question here. What's your name?
Brianna.
Hi, Brianna. What's your question?
Could Damien and your character be friends when they got older?
I think so. Yeah, I think Damon and Matt could, because again, Matt was like that Rocky Balboa in the case. Like Damon just keeps punching him and Matt gets up. And I think he did have a kind of respect for Matt Donovan by the end. They even teamed up a little bit towards the end. So I think so. I think he finally appreciated the usefulness of this pathetic human. Anyway, thank you. I hope that's a good answer.
So I know some people always want to ask you, how did you actually get the role? What was, how did it all go down?
Well, it was just a crazy year, a crazy pilot season. There was a lot of shows being cast, a lot of opportunities. And it was just it was a pilot season where all the friends that I had around the same age in LA, we were all testing for things. We were all kind of crossing each other, didn't know where we'd end up, but you could feel that there was something good happening. And in that year, pretty much all my actor friends that are my age in LA, we were all on different pilots and celebrating when they got picked up, or if they didn't get picked up, still all being jovial because we were sort of winning. But Vampire Diaries was like the winner. I was kind of the winning ticket that season. I didn't necessarily understand why, but I knew that it was. And so I put a lot of energy and focus into it. And I don't know, Kevin Williamson and I had crossed paths on a couple different projects, and he wanted to work with me on this Palm Springs project. He got the chance to with this, and yeah, it was kind of like either between Stefan, Tyler, or Matt. Originally, I tested for Stefan, which is crazy, because when you test, that's like that you're really being considered. That I was even in consideration for Stefan is kind of nuts, but I thought that the human would be more interesting to play than the werewolf, because it had to be real, you know what I mean? All of it had to be real, like the things that he was experiencing. So anyways, that's it. It was a good experience.
Do you remember where you were when you found out? I remember Paul one time said that he was actually in another audition, and they called his name, he just got the phone call. And they said, "You coming in?" And he said, "Nope, I'm gone," because he had just called and they just found out he got.
That story sounds made up. Right. Okay. Maybe it did. That's just the pessimist in me. Probably a little resentful. But yeah, my story is not that cool at all. I do know exactly what I was doing, where I was, who called me first. I'll just put it this way, it was the day after St. Patty's. I tested for the show on St. Patty's Day, thought that I blew it, and I went to a place called Malone's and just got obliterated. And the next morning I was, praying over the porcelain glass. And got a phone call. It was like, it was Kevin Williamson. And he told me, And he told me, I was just like, oh my God, dude. I'm like, oh, well, your video is, dang, okay, great. Well, whatever. Anyway, I was thrown up and I felt like shit. I booked a job, and I don't know. Yeah, you know what's ironic though? I'm just gonna be honest with you, 'cause you're a small group. It's funny because I was puking over that toilet. Kevin hired me, but then my drinking got so out of control, I've ruined all my relationships with those guys. So, I guess on the flip side is I'm not drinking now. And I can sit here and talk to you about it. I can sort of laugh, like maybe like keep it inside laugh, or not. But yeah, man, that show was a crazy, wild experience. I was 24 when I booked it. I'm 37 now. A lot of things happened in between. That were scripted and unscripted. Some unfolded on stage, some unfolded in life, and I don't know, but that opportunity has allowed me to still sit here with you guys, still, pay for my daughter's private school tuition, and still, have a chance to keep fighting. Today's a pretty good day. I hear tomorrow's supposed to be better, so.
Just taking it one day at a time, right?
So they say.
You have a question?
I just wanted to say on your last comment, so proud of you, you've been down that road, it's a struggle, glad you made it out. But completely different question, favorite musical artist or band? Bonus points if it was used in the show.
Wait, so my favorite?
Your favorite.
Bonus points if it was in the show.
Oh, okay, well one of them, and I have a picture of my daughter wearing her t-shirt. Like a little toddler, she has a diaper on and this little long sleeve t-shirt. I bought it with another cast member of Vampire Diaries actually, but Wilco. And then they came and they played on the show. It was just funny. Yeah, they were like it was when we filmed out at the not the Salvatore Mansion, but the yes, the Locker Mansion. Jeez Louise, sorry, it's been a minute. We were filming out at their house, and they had their trailer next to us. And it was just like kind of cool, like, while you're on set filming the show you're on, and I was just like so fanned out.
That's cool as hell. Plus the picture, that's memories right there.
Yeah, and that was pretty sweet. I showed them, like, I just took. Well, it wasn't my daughter, but I took my lady friend at the time to the concert, and I got my daughter a t-shirt. So I still have it. It's like, like her first pair of Uggs, and we got a little Wilco t-shirt, and we got like some of these weird things you keep. Her teeth. she found all the teeth though. So,
Oh yeah.
anyway.
Thanks for the story, man.
Yeah, thank you.
So, do you remember the moment that like you guys knew that Vampire Diaries was a success? Like, you know, there's you start filming and then the show comes out and you kind of have that moment where you're like, okay, this is where it's either gonna be successful or not be successful.
Well, yeah, really, it's a quick answer. I knew before the show even came out, I told you there was something about it that everyone is talking about. Like, that's the one to get. And when I said that I had, there was, dude, like, oh, that's a, you know, like, well, I don't know. It's just like the way that it was described was something I hadn't experienced yet, but I also was aware of. So while filming the pilot, we're in Vancouver, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and like, us younger guys, Trevino and I, we were excited, to say the least. Like, we were really excited. Nina, all of us, like Nina and I took our snowboards. You know, everyone was like, "Who do you think you are? We're filming a pilot. You're gonna snowboard?" We did, until Warner Brothers said no. We went one time, and that was the only time they came down as quick. But I remember I was walking back up into the trailer, and quick other backstory. When I booked the show, finally, to play Matt, tested for Matt, I got in, I was super nervous, and I used to do this thing. I did it at 2 different tests. I would walk around the corner and start doing push-ups, because I would just be nervous, and that's what I did. And Ian, at that time, was pacing the hallway himself and saw me doing the push-ups. I jumped up, and it was him, and I was just like, "Hey man, I'm a really big fan." Because I had seen him years before in New York doing an off-Broadway show, Dog Sees God, and he played Linus, and he crushed it. And I didn't know him at the time, but I remember he did a really fantastic job. So I meet Ian that day, whatever, and he and I vibed. Booked the job, he booked the job, and I walked up, and Damon was barely in the pilot, you know what I mean? So he had like, we were all filming the whole month, and he's there for like maybe a week. And he's up in the trailer, and I go up in the middle of the night to get my like touches up and stuff. And Ian pops out, and we're getting around. He's just like, you know, Ian. You know, Ian is just like so cool, like, you know, he's like a star. Turn on, it's Ian. I'm 24, and never in a sec. And I can't remember what the banter was leading up to, but he was like, "Kid, get ready for the ride of your life." And I shit you not, he said those exact words to me. And then it was like, "I'm in Paris with him at a fan convention. Girls are trying to tip our van over." Like, you know, it certainly has been the ride of my life. And very transformative one, so grateful for him and for all you guys. Anyway.
Hi, what's your name?
Jose.
Hey, Jose, what's up?
Hey, so what's your favorite line in the Vampire Diaries?
What's your favorite line?
Oh, my favorite line. Last night, a girl at the ice cream shop, she was like, "Man, has anyone ever told you you really sound like the guy Matt Donovan of the Vampire Diaries?" Man, from my voice, huh? That's happened before. And I looked over and I was like, "Vicky, what the hell?" Because Trevino would just make fun of me for that line all the time. Like, anytime we would do something, he'd be like, "Vicky, what the hell?" It was like Tommy Boy. I'm like, "Richard, what'd you do?" And so that line's haunted me forever. I don't know if it's my favorite, but anyway.
Oh, I think we have another question.
Hi, again. My question is, if Matt had become a vampire instead of Elena, do you think that he would have, like, accepted it but, like, complained about it the whole time, or do you think he just would have, like, let himself die? Or accepted it, but...
Well, I don't know. I would have normally said probably a completely different answer, but we all saw how season 5 started out. I think Matt started to find a little bit of acceptance in all of it, and I think he probably would have eventually moved on.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. Let's think of a different ending, huh? I don't know. A lot of these what ifs and speculative questions for the show are so hard because there's so many vast answers. It's like going into like a 24-hour diner. There's a million things you can choose from. So, I don't know.
I know in Legacies, your character became the mayor. Do you feel like that was a true path for Matt Donovan? He went going from sheriff to mayor?
I do think that would be appropriate promotion. I definitely promotion did not save the town. Or the show, I should say. That would have been cool to play. I'm just kind of bummed that Legacies has ended now before I could have, Matt Donovan could have gone on as the mayor. The opportunity's now lost. So.
Well, there's a hashtag Save Legacies, so sometimes they bring shows back. You never know. If they bring it back, you want to be the mayor?
I don't know. Yeah, I would definitely be the mayor.
You could be the mayor and then you
I'm a born politician. Come on.
You could be the mayor and then become a vampire. You could be a mayor.
They become the mayor and then the governor.
I mean, there's that too. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Shania.
Hi, Chanel. What's your question?
I was wondering what supernatural creature you would have chosen if you could have been one.
Well, there was actually a possibility that Matt was going to be supernatural because we actually shot part of it. Not my stuff, but Melinda Clark, who played my mom, her character was actually scripted as a succubus. And so she had like killed people and the reason she took off and was gone all the time, the storyline was going to be that she was a succubus and had to leave town. And that Vicky actually would have been, like, I don't know, would have been something rather, even if she wouldn't have been caught up in being a vampire, maybe it had something to do with it, I can't remember. But that would have been, and like, there was a scene where she and Damon are hooking up in the South Torre Mansion, and I think it was like she threw him against the wall in this like move or whatever, and she starts kissing him and it's like sucking his face, and he's just like she's sucking his powers out. But that would have made Matt an incubi, which Merlin was an incubi or an incubus, whatever. So I was like really excited when I read that script because I was like, guys, you know what that means? Like that means Matt is definitely, you know. But then they went back and reshot all of it, and she was just my mom who had a lot of issues. So, you know, I guess they had fun. I don't know. Anyway.
I heard Melinda's daughter was like upset that her mom got to make out with her like crush or whatever.
I'm gonna see her in October, right?
Yeah. And in August actually.
Oh, sweet. For OC?
Yeah. There's a show in August called Epics and Chill, and Melinda will be there. Zach who's in Friday Night Lights as well.
Yeah, I'm doing a con for Friday Night Lights. It's wild. I've only ever done like, you know, them in this kind of genre, so I think it's cool. I guess that's the world we live in now. Yeah, you can interact like face to face. I don't know. I guess maybe you've always been able to. I just kind of learned to rock. So. I was just starting to think about maybe creating like a private family Facebook account, and everyone was like, I don't even use Facebook anymore. So,
Well, at least you didn't say MySpace. You're like, hey, I just got on MySpace.
I do remember MySpace.
Did you have a top 8?
I didn't do it. I wasn't on it. I had friends that were, it was a college thing, right?
No, Facebook was more college.
Sure.
We'll talk about that later. Okay, I have a question. So, at the end though, with the whole thing with the bell, you really were like one of the founding families. So, did you ever feel gypped that you didn't?
That's right.
I always thought
All coming back. Like I told you, it was a whirlwind. Yeah, the bell, that's right, my family made the bell. So he kind of did have a superpower or some kind of something. Would have been nice to see how that developed. I really did like having a dad. Joel, by the way, great guy. The guy that played my dad, so any of you guys that are William Shatner fans, that's his father-in-law. So it was like, we're like working together, and he's like talking like, yeah, we're gonna go to this event with my stepdad, Bill, and like that. Like he's talking. One day I figured it out, I'm like, talking about William Shatner, dude? Like, holy shit. Like, blew my mind. But anyway, I did a con in Saudi Arabia. Lonnie was there, sorry. Lonnie Kai. We are in Florida, Laney. William Shatner was with us in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh. He was like the coolest guy.
You know Shatner's gonna be here tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Shadsy?
Someone didn't look at the other part of the guest list, did he?
I know I had a plane ticket and I was invited, so I've got a badge. Oh, really? In the morning?
Yeah. 11:30.
Okay. Good thing it's not a Q&A, so it would smell like bacon. Yeah, that's a little early to be doing that.
It is. Well, and you know Paul's now the new Captain Kirk, Paul Wesley.
I know, I heard that. That's pretty cool.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I just had one more question. Out of all the life experiences that you've had and been through and done, what is one thing that you haven't done yet but want to do really bad?
That is a good question.
Example of skydiving.
Yeah, I mean, see, something like that, if you know me, that's just a given. So I don't, that's just already going to happen. At this point now, I'm waiting until my daughter turns 18. But, yeah, I don't know. What else? There's a lot, you know, there's a lot of things I'm trying to catch up on, so.
Whole world.
Well,
Do you want a minute to think about it? We can come back to that question.
yeah, so now I'm like thinking about it, I'm getting a little deep. I would, I'd like to maybe do like some real life, sort of like crossing realms, if you will. I've been entertaining the idea of like with speaking to people who died and using this medium, and I find it pretty fascinating. At this point, just testing her, I guess, to make sure I'm not being lied to. But so far, she is blowing my freaking mind. So it's kind of opened up a whole world of possibilities. Maybe like just completely forget about politics altogether. So.
Well, then I had a second follow-up to that.
Yeah.
Once your daughter turns 18, what experience would you like to do with her?
Oh, well, it will be just a whole trip. Go to Israel, go to the Amazon, go to Rome, go to Egypt, go to Machu Picchu, probably go to the moon.
Well, then we might be able to.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, dude.
Of course. Is there if you could have played any character in any movie, any TV show, not necessarily something you even auditioned for, not even something that you physically could fit, right? But what would you play if you could just have played anyone?
Oh boy. Captain Ahab.
Okay. That's not the answer. But do you have to tell us why now?
Well, I would add little bits to the story. It would be Captain Ahab, and it would be following, the story, but I've also been extremely fascinated with narwhals since I was a little kid, because they're like the unicorns of the sea. And I just think that somewhere in that, if that were to be developed into a movie or a TV show, there could be some beauty found in sort of like it wasn't a must, but at the time it felt like it was, and it was very horrific. And through our development as human beings, that kind of stuff is going on left and right. But there's also been beautiful moments throughout them, just like a butterfly flying across the bloody battlefield, and like in the midst of all this going on in the sea, and like that terrible story, like this majestic unicorns. So, anyway.
It sounds like somebody asked a question earlier about what mythical character you could have been. Maybe would it have been a narwhal?
Just been a narwhal, yeah. That or the human tick. Because where I'm from in Northwest Ohio originally, born and raised, so I was up there. I got a couple farms there and one in Michigan. One in Michigan was my grandmother's, and that was a part of the Underground Railroad. So I just I just keep it because it's so cool, It's like such an old house, like underneath this old metal siding and these bricks that are crumbling. And those bricks were made from the clay that's in the woods that I now own. And so I just think that's pretty rad. But anyway, so I'm back there frequently, like mushrooming, like foraging for morels and stuff like that. And up there, that's big. As well as I like to turkey hunt. So in the spring, it was super wet, and I was like, I always feel like, yeah, up north, I never have to worry about snakes compared to Georgia. And it was just like snakes central, they're everywhere. So like trying to look for mushrooms, snakes, turkey, snakes. I still got a turkey, I still got some mushrooms, but came back at the beginning of July, and dude, I had never picked off ticks like this in my whole life. Like just ticks every day, all over me, my dog, everything. And I was just like thinking about the human tick, and I don't know that, and I've always thought about maybe making this character named Litterman, but because you have to cut your liver in half again like, to regenerate. So why wouldn't a superhero be like the human liver? You know, it's like so like all of a sudden someone's like, whatever. But I'll tell you about ticks though. My dog gets the ticks on him all the time. He's coming in the house. I'm fearing that he's gonna like let them spread off onto me, which they frequently do. You know, like shower, get out of the shower, and all of a sudden you have a tick on you. It doesn't make sense. But my dog, I'll be scratching him, and the ticks are dead. They're like, as soon as they bite him, they die. Meanwhile, you know, I got people that are getting Lyme's disease. I'm worried about it, but my dog's just happy as can be, running in the brush, like rolling and stuff he shouldn't be, because I give him heartburns like Trigard. Why we are curing the things that I didn't even know existed. Why can't we have like take like a Trigard? Why can't I be protected from ticks? I mean, I'm a freaking tax-paying American citizen. Like, I'm worried about Lyme disease over here.
Well, we just have a few seconds left, but as the last question, maybe, you know, what are you reading? What are you watching right now? Like, what do you feel like these people should be into?
Well, a show that I've been fascinated with because I like doing this kind of stuff is Alone. It's on Netflix right now, but it's like a survival type show. And it's more just about like survival. Check it out. It's like about here as well. And a book I'm reading right now is very similar to that, survival anyway. It's Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah, he's another book I'm reading too. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, tomorrow, I think high of 97, 87% humidity.
Well, you guys should definitely go by and see Zach. He's here today, well, a little bit more today, tomorrow, and Sunday.
Yeah, I'm here all weekend. I really didn't announce enough of this. Kind of again a little slow in the uptake. So any of you Gen Zs out there that want to do me a solid and do a little, I don't know, let people.
I think that's post on social media. I think that's Zach for post on social media. But do you guys want to give Zach a round of applause? That's Roerig, everybody.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of your day here at Tampa Bay Comic Con. And if we don't see you later today, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night.